is larger than life. It is called Texas high school football. Only one show can bring the greatest sport from the greatest state into focus. Lone Star Gridiron.
Welcome back to the Lone Star Gridiron Report. This is the coach that makes a difference, Chad Worrell, joining us from Brock High School. And it all started for you over at Pilot Point when you were playing on the line of scrimmage.
It did. My roots are offensive line. We were a wing T team, smash mouth football, and played defensive end and guard for Pilot Point. Graduated in 90, so.
Some good years, great rivalries too. Salina comes to mind. G.A. Moore comes to mind. Talk about that tree of coaches that you've kind of come from.
G.A., grew up when I was a kid, water boy on the state championship games of 80 and 81 for Pilot Point when Coach Moore was there. And he's had a huge impact on my career, obviously, and a lot of mentorship, and considered him a great friend. And Jerry Jones came in while I was in high school and coached us, and played the wing T, and Lenny Gray is offense coordinator, and those guys had a huge impact on my career as well. So,
talk about that football that is played around Pilot Point, Salina. Brock's a little further out, but still the kind of the Metroplex area, just in the lower classifications, there's so much good football. But we hear all the time about the higher classifications, but the lower classifications are loaded.
I'll tell you, there's a lot of tradition in North Texas and surrounding all around the DFW area. But, especially when you get to the North Texas area with Salina and Pilot Point and Gunner and Pottsboro and those guys on the outlying areas. Of course, Argyle's up there, and people consider them bigger, but they weren't always that big. So, yeah, there's some great football. They take a lot of pride in their programs, the communities do, and it's a great place to live and coach.
Talk about the starting up a program here at Brock and the kind of success that y'all have had so instantaneous. How did that all get started? Did you have to kind of comb through the intermediates and stuff and you work your way to getting a program started?
We started the first year with junior high, 7th and 8th grade, and really built from there. Spent a lot of time with the younger kids, and we still do. And we believe it all starts at the junior high. And even below that with the youth leagues and the Pee Wee teams. And so we spend a lot of time with those coaches trying to build it from the ground up. And everything kind of clicks, and sometimes. And obviously the community, great kids, great administration, and it just all kind of come together. So.
Now, you played in a running style offense, but coaches have had to adapt. They've had to learn to throw the ball around a little bit more. Is a lot of that, you're going out and looking for that right offensive coordinator just to kind of make sure that you are staying up with the times and continuing to push the envelope?
Well, we're really, really multiple. And Casey Jones is our offense coordinator, and it's a huge hire for us 3 years ago. And he came in as the first year that we played actually a varsity season before we went to the UIL, and we played an independent schedule. And Casey came in, and we sat down, before we hired him, and took some of the stuff that had been doing at Godley and meshed it with some of the stuff that we'd been doing, and kind of came up with our own system. And we're really multiple. We can throw the ball. We feel like we throw it well. We've qualified the last 2 years for state 7-on-7 tournament and won our pool both years. And we do throw it, but when it comes down to to game time, making the difference there in the fourth quarter, people know we're going to run the ball. We're not ashamed to say that. So our kids take a lot of pride in it. They take a lot of pride in being able to run the ball and being physical on offense. So.
Yeah, there's a coach out there who's intrigued about this independent schedule. How do you go about setting that up? Do you basically just say, look, we want to try to play some teams that are going to make us better quicker?
It was really – we didn't have a whole lot of choice who we played. We had to put it out there that we were looking for games. And, as UIL schools either had open dates that they couldn't fill, or private schools, we played a lot of smaller schools that year, a lot of 2A schools. We played a 4A school to end the season in Dallas Roosevelt, and then we sandwiched in some private schools. And so we really just took what we could get. We played 2 home games the entire season. We traveled 8 weeks and played 2 games in Sweetwater, and we went to Waco, and we went to Winters. And we really traveled all over the state that year to play games. But looking back, it was a lot of great memories from that year.
And that really propelled you guys in that first season. Y'all went 12-2 in your first year in the UIL.
It did. The independent season, we finished the year. We finished 8-2 that year. We lost to 2 really good private schools, Episcopal School Dallas and Fort Worth Christian. But the last game of the year, we went to, like I said, Dallas Roosevelt and played those guys and won that game. It was a huge win going into the off season, going into that the first year in the UIL where we went 12-2. And you look back on a little time, points of reference that maybe made a difference or sent you in the right direction. I think that definitely got us off on the right foot. So,
looking back, what was your memories of last season and as the season wore on, being undefeated? Playing at NRG Stadium in Houston in that kind of surroundings. What was that entire feeling like? What was the season like in general?
Well, I mean, like I said, it was catching like catching lightning in a bottle. Everything kind of came together. We stayed relatively healthy. You're going to have injuries during the football season, but we stayed relatively healthy that year, and our kids really did a great job. It always, in awe of how the moment never got too big for them. Mm-hmm. And it didn't matter if we were playing a district game, the first district game of the year, or if we're playing in the state championship. I mean, they really approached each week the same. I got a funny story of the state championship week. I was just telling this to a coach at a clinic this spring. Is he was asking about our kids and about how they, react to pressure and things like that. And I said, well, I can tell you this. The week that we're playing our state championship game, I believe it's Monday night, the kids, I get on Twitter and our kids are catfishing in a river. They're out fishing. That's how stressed out they were about it. So that was just kind of that group of seniors. It's a special group, and they stayed grounded, and it showed the way they played on Friday night.
Maybe the fish weren't biting and they were going through their playbook.
Maybe. I doubt that. No, they didn't need to get away for it. I tell you, the state championship game, people that's been there know this, but it's really so hectic that it's hard to just stop and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. You have to really get through it and then look back on it and think about how much fun it was, because at the time, as much fun as it is being there, it's a stressful week. There's a lot of things going on.
And you played 3-time defending champion Cameron Yo on top of that. And who knows what happens in that game. Trayon Smith gets injured, and it seemed like that kind of catapulted your team in the second half. But what adjustments did y'all make at halftime? Because you look like a different team out there.
We really didn't. People don't realize this. We didn't turn the ball over in the playoffs. We didn't have one turnover until the state championship game, and we had 3 in the first half. And we felt like in the first half, and I'm not, I tell you, I hated to see him get hurt. We all did. We're all coaches, and we're here for kids. But at the same time, at halftime, we felt like, we had a 7-6 lead there in the second quarter, about midway through the second quarter, and we get a stop, and they punt to us, and we fumble the punt at midfield. And we felt like, I told the kids, if we don't fumble that punt, we were already moving the football, and we felt like we were going to be able to go down. We would have scored, make it 14-6, and that probably would have been the halftime score. As a result, we fumbled. They go score quick, and then we get the ball back and fumble again, and they go get that. He gets hurt, and they score out there before half to make it 21-7. And so we felt like, that if we took care of our mistakes, that's why I tell our kids, if we don't turn the ball over and we don't have the penalties and we don't have the mental breakdowns that we had there in the first half, we'd be fine. And really, we didn't make a lot of adjustments. So.
Final question. Is it harder coaching now as a defending champ? Do you have to kind of remind the kids that was their championship? We've got to start this thing all over again?
Absolutely. We've talked about that in the spring, and we've talked about that with our seniors, that we were all a part of that state championship, but it's really the seniors' legacy. And so, what do you want for your legacy? And so, yeah, we've really tried to move past that and not talk about it a whole lot, and really just start over from step one this year. So,
what'd you think of the ring? Lone Star Gridiron giving you a new ring. What's your thoughts?
It's awesome. I tell you, it's a great honor, super honor, and you almost feel guilty as a head coach to set up and accept an award like this, because it's such a team effort. We've got a great coaching staff. They're all still back at home this week. They didn't come down because we've got strength and conditioning camp, and so that they had to stay back and work. And we're having our coaches retreat later this week. But it's a team effort from the coaching staff to the community to the administration. And obviously the kids. Big factor in that. So whenever you accept an award like this, as big an honor as it is, it's a team award. So
very good, Chad Worrell. Thank you so much. He's a Lone Star Gridiron coach that makes a difference.
LoneStarGridiron.com. Access the complete history of Texas high school football, over 100 years of information, win-loss records, coaching histories, individual stats, records, and more. Lone Star Gridiron, the authority on Texas high school football.